Today we're going to restore this Series 4 Ferrograph. This machine I've had for some time now. I have used it in the past, but the electronics needs rebuilding, i.e. things like capacitors, maybe valves, maybe the odd resistor here and there. What I'll do is I'll take you through the whole setup and precautions we take, and the number one danger is this machine uses very high voltages. You've got mains voltage and DC high voltage, which can be lethal. So don't try this at home unless you absolutely know what you're doing. We are going to try the machine out, see if it does work. I need to take a precaution to stop any overloading, and if there's any shorts in this, it could do serious damage to transformers and other components, etc. So what we need to do first is use a safety lamp, which is a bulb in series with the mains. So if there's any problems with any shorts or anything, the bulb will take up all the current. So we plug that in there. That one goes in there. Now if the bulb glows bright, I'll have to turn it straight off again. But you should either get just a faint glowing, or it shouldn't glow at all. So here goes. Yes. You get that initial surge of current, and then it goes back to dim, and you can hardly see it at all now. Now let's see what it'll do, see if it actually works or not. I haven't used this machine for some time, so I'm not quite sure. So there's a tape already on here, so we'll just start it up and see if it plays. It's moving pretty slowly, probably because of the bulb in series. It's more like it. Doesn't seem to be playing anything. So this doesn't appear to be working right now. It's a free motor deck, and it seems to fast forward. And it also seems to rewind okay. A bit noisy. You see the counter there, the clock type counter. Okay, we'll now take a look inside. But first of all, it's important to unplug the machine first. Undo these two. And the deck will lift up. And you can see in there all the workings of the deck. This here is the power supply unit. It also incorporates the bias oscillator. And as you can see, it has a free motor deck. So what we're going to do next is take all the individual modules out, and these all unplug. There's a big octal connector there. There's a socket and a plug on the chassis. Down here there's another one which goes to the actual amplifier section. There are plugs here from the heads. First we'll remove the amplifier section. And this is done by undoing these 4 screws here. It's also important to have a box to put everything in, otherwise things will fall off the bench and just get lost. The amplifier section should all come out in one unit. Just unplug the speaker. There's a clip here to hold one of the cables on. So this is the amplifier section with all the tubes and components in it. If we turn it over, you can see the underside, all the capacitors and resistors. We're going to replace most of these capacitors. Looks like some may have been replaced already. Attached to the bottom of the cabinet is the actual power supply and bias oscillator. We should be taking that out too. We now take out the power supply and bias oscillator unit. There we go, here's the bias oscillator and the power supply unit. What we do now is we'll put the mechanics of it to one side and we'll test the power supply. Here it's quite important, we've got the manual of the Ferrograph, and not only is it the operating instructions, but it also has all the service details, service information and schematics. Let's see if I can find the diagram for this. Here we go. That's the schematic diagram. Very important to have this while you're working on it, because it shows all the connections. What I'd like to do first is make sure there's no dust on here, so we give it a bit of a clean with a vacuum cleaner and an old paintbrush. We're now going to attempt to test the power supply, and what we need to do is bridge the two connections on the plug here, which actually lead to the on-off switch on the front panel. So that's going to be pins 6 and 8. If you're doing this, go very, very careful. Going very careful not to short out any other pins on the plug. That should do it. And check the voltages across the choke. So again, 354 volts there, and 354 volts there. That seems about right to me.